Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Joe Polish, Roland Frazier, and Rick Cesari. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 27 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you can email my team at welcome@goldsteinpc.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You can also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have with me here today Maresa Friedman. Maresa didn't start out her career as an entrepreneur. She started out corporate. Not just working any old corporate job, but working in high-level positions at some of the most prestigious companies in the world. And that's likely what helped her create her superpower, which, among other things, is knowing how to advise entrepreneurs from the standpoint of an insider who's seen it all and, most importantly, knows how teams want to be led. She works as a strategist to global brands and also provides operational insight for newly funded startups or companies seeking to improve their brand recognition in niche markets via targeted relationship strategies. I'm very pleased to welcome here today Maresa Friedman. Welcome, Maresa.
Hi, Rich. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. And I had to laugh because, as we were just saying, like the last time I read that introduction, we were goofing around. We were riding bicycles in Newport Beach, and we were pretending to start a podcast. And so you shot a video of me doing that intro, like riding along with my pink bicycle with a little bell on it. And
like 3,000 people loved it, right? So it's proof that it's never the thing that you think it's going to be, that people they wanted to see us try and do something on a bike, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I shot like a 5-second video of a guy spraying lighter fluid onto a fire pit that was already lit. And like 10,000 people watched that. So yeah, you never know what's going to be interesting to other people. I guess what it is, it's just a little snapshot into our lives. That's what they're looking for. They just want to see a little piece of that, right?
I think everyone just wants to see the humanity. They just want to work with people that they know, like, and trust, right? That hasn't changed since the beginning of time. And all any of these things do, whether you're on a LinkedIn or an Instagram or a TikTok, it just gives people insight. You know, it's like we have these little different personalities. And so any glimpse into something that's not the standard, people are like, "Ooh, what's that? What are they doing? What's going on there? Why are they on bikes? Why are they outside?" Right? We're so used to being indoor cats, right, for the past couple of years. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, oh wait, how come they get to go outside?
Right? I know, I'm in California.
We're not California, no less, right? You know, like, wait, something's not right here.
It's Newport Beach, right? So it's right, California.
Right, exactly. It's a little island in we were literally on an island in California.
Yeah, literally.
In more ways than one.
Right.
But yeah, okay. So then, like, on that note though, and like talking about like brands and building branding, and so people watch things for all different reasons online.
Yeah.
But one of the things that they watch, which they probably shouldn't be watching, is like people talking out their butt, let's say, about marketing when they haven't done any of their own marketing in a long time, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's like my number one pet peeve is like people schlepping strategies that worked in like 2016. And just because it worked in 2016, they just like double, triple, quadrupled down on that strategy. And that's what they tell everyone to be doing. And it's like, does that make sense given the context of like what's happening today? And a lot of times it doesn't. And so it's like, I always tell people, like, never be afraid to ask questions, especially to people that are like in the marketing space or in the guru space. Like, and if someone makes you feel bad for asking a question, right, that's probably not going to be a great fit. Because if someone's really good at what they can do, they can take that 10,000 foot strategy and make it really 6 feet for you. And if someone's not willing to do that, or not, willing to kind of like make it simple, then like run, like take your money and run the other way. Like it's not going to be a fit always.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like, what else? So on that same topic of like where kind of people like have the wrong notion about how to go about marketing, like, so what else makes you crazy?
I mean, I think the best way that I could do it would be to compare it to kind of like the fitness and lifestyle industry, right? Like that industry, health, beauty, wellness, fitness, right? That's like $1 billion plus industry per month, right? And so there's always going to be that juice cleanse where you can lose 15 pounds in a weekend, right? Where you're just drinking juice or like whatever thing. But like at some point you got to eat real food, right? At some point you're going to need more than celery. So it's the same thing with like marketing, meaning that a lot of people want the rush of the juice cleanse. They want that instant thing that they can see, and then it makes them feel like they've done something. But oftentimes, right, like anyone that's ever gone to the gym, right? Like the first month you go to the gym, you just don't feel good. You're tired. You look in the mirror every day and like there's no change. Like you can't see the change. But what's really interesting is when you go into that second month of going to the gym, someone might comment that like, hey, like your face looks thinner, or did you lose weight, or your something feels different, something fits different, right? It's the same thing with marketing. The more that you commit to doing it on an ongoing basis, right, Rich, the more results that you'll see, as long as it's focused. And I know this because you do a ton of marketing, so you understand how this game works. It's like the most unsexy thing of everything that I do is I'm preaching consistency, which is like death to an entrepreneur. Routine? What do you mean I have to do a routine? And I'm like, well, you talk about high performance habits. This is like one of your high performance habits. Like it is your duty, your job, and your responsibility to have conversations with your audience. I'm not talking about lecturing your audience. I'm just like giving them value, giving them resources, right? You have this incredible podcast. You wrote this incredible book, Rich. You didn't just do it for fun, right? I mean, chances are you see a benefit on the back end, and you don't even have to like sell. You don't even have to be obnoxious. You're just providing value. That's really what people want, right? Like you don't have to put me in some crazy sales funnel with like 47 emails that hit me over a 7-day period. Just give me some value and I'll believe in you and I'll trust you. And chances are, like when I need you, I will call you. It's really all that we're trying to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and I think kind of what I'm getting from what you're saying is consistency and consistently providing value, right? So ultimately, that's what we want to do, is provide value, not, send someone 1,000 emails. But
I just turn that off. I mean, I think like there's the right number of touch points that you can get with your client base. But I know that if I sign up for something and I get like 7 emails in the first 24 hours, that's probably not going to be someone that I hang out with long term, because that doesn't align to kind of my value system, right? That doesn't align to like what I do. But, in some industries, you've got to be more aggressive than others. But generally for what we do when we're providing services to business owners, business to business, this isn't a thing, right? Like you just, at a certain point, how many emails do we get? I think when the statistic was something crazy, like on average, we get anywhere between 1,700 to 2,200 like business email follow-ups per day that are automated. Like, okay, so we got 2,000 of these coming in a day. Chances are we'll see 20, about 10% of them.
right.
So it's a lot. It's a little overwhelming, right? We see from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we see about 10,000 brand messages a day. Like, let that sink in.
Yeah.
Like that. So what does that tell you? That consistency, that having to repeat yourself over and over matters, because 10,000 brand messages are hitting someone in a day. It's a lot.
And it's about finding some type of balance too, because you want to be consistent with your brand message, but you don't want to overwhelm people as well.
Yeah. You want to be reasonable. And that's the one thing I appreciate about what you do. You're reasonable. You're not overly aggressive. You're doing it consistently. Like, you've made a commitment to doing it on a regular basis. And that's like, most people don't want to do that because it feels like a routine, and like routine can be scary, but like, I think routine is very, very free personally. That's just me. Like, if I know a certain amount of things are going out on a regular basis and I know what my numbers are, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. And so in terms of that, it almost sounded like a few moments ago that you're a bit like a personal trainer. It's like, Like, come on, like people
Yeah.
don't want the routine. Come on, 6 a.m. Let's do that
Yeah.
marketing. Let's, we got to
Well,
we got to send out a broadcast this week. Can't
I
let too
think,
long go by, right?
well, you know this. You have a fractional marketing consultant. I'm a fractional strategist. The difference between fractional people and true consultants, right? Like, it's kind of like if I was a doctor and I was like, Rich, you got a heart problem. Like, here's a folder with some nutrition stuff that you need to do and some exercises you need to do, right? I'm going to hand you that folder. That's a consultant. Here's your recommendation. Fractional people that go into companies and work with people, we are your personal trainers because we're like, hey, this is the plan. And now we're going to help you do X, Y, and Z with the plan, but you got to do it with us. It's a totally different approach. And I think some people are scared of it because it means opening the kimono. It means maybe like you've made some mistakes and you're going to have to tell what those mistakes were, and then you just grow from it. But, in my experience, people that commit to this stuff will often see like at least like a 72% ROI on their efforts if they're consistent for a minimum of 6 months. So if you stick with it for 6 months, you have a 72% success rate. That's pretty good in the industry. It's pretty good.
Absolutely. And I get how it could be confronting too, because when you're a consultant, then it's like you could have a whole list of recommendations that point to things that they should have been doing for the past 5 years. They could shake their head and say, "Oh, thank you very much for these recommendations."
Yeah.
But if you're doing like done with you, then it's like, okay, now we're going to work on this and we're going to find out some of these reasons kind of why none of this stuff has been getting done, and maybe point to some things that maybe you don't want me to see, or that's where real growth happens.
Well, and I mean, sometimes it's as simple as like, the best people that are in their trade are not always the best people to talk about it, right? I've worked with a lot of incredible attorneys over the years. I worked with fine law, right? Which is when you talk to rooms of people, probably the hardest room to speak to is a room full of attorneys. But I never had a problem because at the end of the day, it's like, great, you're the best and you're awesome, but no one knows this. So like, again, in the absence of information, people make other decisions. So what are you going to do today to showcase that you're great? And that, to me, speaks volumes when I can speak to a room of like 150 attorneys and everyone can come up to me and be like, oh, like facts today. Like they're frustrated, but they also know like, okay, we got to do something, and that's like the unsexy part of what I do, but I think it's like the most liberating because once you figure it out, then you're on fire, right? Like you can get something done. I pulled a statistic specifically for today. I think I have it right here. So I read this and I thought it was interesting. So I like data and facts and stuff. You know that I'm a nerd. So there is a 65% chance if you announce a goal out loud to another person that you'll complete that goal. Okay. If you set up a follow-up date with that person to say, I'm going to check in with you to see and let you know how it went, there's an 85% chance of success rate of completing that goal. So what does that tell you? That just tells you simply saying it out loud is pretty good. That's a 65% chance, but 85% chance if you tell a peer or someone and set a date to follow up. So if you apply that to marketing or business or anything else that you're doing, like that's super transformational. I mean, that's a little woo-woo on the leadership side, but it's true. It's very transformational to have that stuff, and that's the data to back it up that it works. It's not just a feeling.
Because we create our reality with the things that we say.
Exactly.
And integrity is everything. So like when we give our word to something, it counts for a lot. And I always have found this, that like when I give my word to someone else, it means more than when I give my word to myself. If I tell myself I'm gonna do this today, doesn't quite mean as much as when you say it out loud to another person, and especially if there's going to be follow-up.
And we've talked about this, right? Like how you do anything is how you do everything. Mm-hmm. And so like whether it's personally or professionally, we have a ton of like contacts in common. I think it's just like behavior, especially in an industry where like marketing in general can be very fluffy, right? It can be very feely and touchy-feely. And there's a lot of like acronyms everyone likes to throw around. But, when you can find people that can have a real conversation, I find that to be incredibly valuable because, if you're the smartest at doing X, Y, and Z and you can't explain it in simple English, you're never going to be successful. It's just never going to work. Because like, if I don't understand what you do at a base level, I won't have an appreciation or respect, right? Because I won't get it. And I think most of the time people don't realize people aren't getting it. They're just confused. They don't know what decision to make. That's why they're Googling. And hopefully they find you. But if they don't, they're going to be confused.
Yeah. And so in a sense, it's like being able to explain what you do in a way that relates to other people can be a big part of your personal branding, right? It's like if you're establishing a personal brand, in order for people to understand who you are, for it to be consistent with what you're actually doing, your personal brand has to include an easy to understand explanation of what you do.
Well, and I think like most people get really caught up in the nuance of language. And so sometimes people are like, well, I don't know what a fractional strategist is. And I break it down like the example that I gave you. It's like a doctor giving you a folder, a doctor giving you a chef and a personal trainer and a nutritionist, right? There's a difference to both of those services. But also like with the personal brand, there are so many people that have taglines or catchphrases or things that they, coined that people don't even know are theirs, right? We were at an event and there was that, a dream written down becomes a plan written down becomes a goal, or whatever that phrase was. And there's someone that we both know is the guy that coined that phrase, right?
Yeah, actually, and Gary was on the show a few weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. So, or Greg, it was Greg. So
Greg.
Yeah. So Greg. Yeah, no. So, but that's the thing about thought leadership, right? Is you have someone whose quote that we know has been shared like 7 million plus times in the past year and a half. That's what really good attention to detail and personal brand can bring you in. And at the end of the day, it's like for me, whether or not people know my name is less important for me than whether they know my work. A lot of people know my work, but they don't know my name, but that's okay. Because the trade-off is for me, I'd rather make the money. Like I don't need to be famous. I want to be, like I have clients that are very well known. And so it's like super awkward going in public with them because there's, I don't need anybody taking my picture. I don't need paparazzi. It's already hard enough for me to eat in front of somebody else. But like when you got photographers snapping a picture, you're just, it's just going to be the picture of you like reaching for the hamburger. It's going to look terrible, right? So for me, and that's something people don't realize with their branding. I mean, you said something right when you opened the podcast, Rich. You were talking about the book that you wrote for the American Bar Association in plain English. That's brilliant, right? Like I'd be telling everyone and their mom, because it's at the end of the day, this is a very esteemed association. They've asked you to do something really cool and you were able to do it. I know a lot of people that wouldn't be able to articulate things in plain language. And that's a differentiator. Just that little thing is so different that, whatever it is, everyone has a thing that differentiates them. We know a ton of talented people, but a lot of times they're not the best people at articulating what they're great at. And that's just an outside pair of eyes. We all have a little bit of baggage. I joke, like business baggage. We don't want to brag, right? And I want to make the clear distinction. We're not bragging, we're branding. And we all have baggage, right? It's like we're all getting on this plane together. And some of us have the baggage that we've checked and it's under the plane and no one can see what we've got, right? Some of us have baggage and it's under the seat in front of us. You can see it, but it's kind of ancillary. And then some's in the overhead, right? And so we just kind of pick which baggage we're going to play with.
Lap.
Yeah. And so, but that's the joke, right? It's just like everyone's got the baggage. Everyone's had a deal that's gone bad. Everyone had a deal that went great. It's just the learning of that. And I think one of my mentors always says, you never lose. You win or you learn something, right? And that's all that I do is I help identify people where the win is and where they need to learn and change.
I love that. And so you're doing a program, like a group program to help people to focus on all of that and to give them another set of eyes to the things that might help them express who they are out in the world. Thought Leadership Acceleration Program, is that?
Yes. So we decided in the process of working with a mutual friend of ours, Anna David, we were, I have a book that's coming out that's pretty aggressive in nature, but it's just around building your thought leadership to monetize. And so I put together an accelerator program so that maybe most people that reach out to me have to be at a certain price point. But this is very accessible. So if you're like a brand new entrepreneur, or you were laid off during the pandemic, or you're in the process of rebranding or trying to reinvigorate yourself, it is a 4-week program. We're only doing applications only. There's a very rigorous pre-screening process because we just want people that are in to be in. Like, I don't want someone to buy that's not going to participate, right? So 100% of the interview process is around willingness to take feedback. And over the course of 4 weeks, we have shown that we're able to generate like 20% more leads for people's companies, articles, placements, all kinds of things organically if they commit to our program. So we have that opening March 1st. And if anyone's interested, they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Maresa Friedman, or you can just Google executive cat herder, and the only person out there is me.
The executive cat herder.
That is me.
Nice. And well, I was just about to ask you if people want to learn more about you, get in touch with you, how they go about doing so. So maybe I'll just have you repeat that or focus it, or however you want to.
Yeah, you can just Google executive cat herder, or you can look up Maresa Friedman. Maresas with an E. I am on all the things. So there's a bazillion different ways you can connect with me, either on LinkedIn, Instagram, or my website.
By with an E, she means Maresa.
E-S-A, M-A-R-E-S-A, Maresa, if we're going to be technical. Feel free to reach out. It took me a long
time to stop trying to say Maresa.
I know.
It's
a little fancy.
Maresa. Yeah.
It's because I'm Latina, got to add a little spice to the name. But yeah, reach out to me. I answer all of my messages personally, so there's no assistant that's going to respond to you. But that does mean that it's probably going to take like a day or two for me to answer it. But I do try to answer everybody's messages personally. Awesome.
Well, Maresa, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the program, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.